The Secret Teachings of All Ages is a comprehensive book written by Manly P. Hall, first published in 1928. It delves into the esoteric teachings and mysteries of various ancient cultures and spiritual traditions. The book is divided into 4 main sections: symbolism, mythology, and mysticism, the ancient mysteries and secret societies, the life and teachings of Thoth Hermes Trismegistus, and the initiates of the flame. In the first section, Hall explores the meanings and interpretations of various symbols and mythological motifs, ranging from the zodiac and the tarot to the stories of Osiris and Isis. In the second section, Hall discusses the historical origins and practices of secret societies and mystery schools, including the Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and Knights Templar. He also explores the connections between these organizations and the ancient wisdom traditions of Egypt, Greece, and Rome. The third section focuses on the life and teachings of Thoth Hermes Trismegistus, an ancient Egyptian god who was later revered as a philosopher and mystic. Hall examines the Hermetic teachings and their influence on Western esotericism, including alchemy, astrology, and magic. The final section explores the concept of the initiates of the flame, a group of enlightened individuals who have attained a higher level of consciousness and spiritual understanding. Hall discusses the practices and disciplines required to reach this state of being, and examines the role of these initiates in shaping human history and culture. Throughout the book, Hall draws on a wide range of sources, from ancient texts and mythologies to the teachings of contemporary spiritual leaders. He presents a detailed and insightful exploration of the esoteric teachings that have shaped human thought and culture, and offers a powerful argument for the importance of these teachings in understanding the nature of existence and the human condition. Overall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages is a comprehensive and enlightening exploration of the esoteric traditions of the world, and a valuable resource for anyone interested in the history of spirituality and philosophy. Chapters 1. The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies which have influenced modern Masonic symbolism. 2. The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies, Part 2. 3. Atlantis and the Gods of Antiquity. 4. The Life and Teachings of Thoth Hermes Trismegistus. 5. The Initiation of the Pyramid. 6. Isis, the Virgin of the World. 7. The Sun, a universal deity. 8. The Zodiac and its signs. 9. The Bembine Table of Isis. 10. Wonders of Antiquity. 11. The Life and Philosophy of Pythagoras. 12. Pythagorean Mathematics. 13. The Human Body in Symbolism. 14. The Hiramic Legend. 15. The Pythagorean Theory of Music and Color. 16. Fishes, insects, animals, reptiles, and birds. 17. Flowers, plants, fruits, and trees. 18. The Falconelli Phenomenon. 19. The Mysteries and their Emissaries. 20. The Kabbalah and the Mysteries of Life. 21. The Alchemists. 22. The Theory and Practice of Alchemy. 23. The Hermetic and Alchemical Figures of Claudius de Domenico Celentano Vallis Novi. 24. Rosicrucianism and its connection with Freemasonry. 25. Masonic symbolism. 26. The cryptogram as a factor in symbolic philosophy. 27. Mystic Christianity. 28. The Cross and the Crucifixion. 29. The Mystery of the Apocalypse. 30. The Tree of the Sephiroth. 31. A Tarot Trump. 32. The Tabernacle in the Wilderness. 33. The Fraternity of the Rose Cross. 34. Bacon, Shakespeare, and the Rosicrucians. 35. The Theory of Celestial Influence. 36. The Emerald Tablet. 37. The 7 Hermetic Principles. 38. The Evolution of the Mystery Language. 39. The Theory of Cycles. 40. The Physical and Spiritual Aspects of Cosmology. Each chapter provides a detailed examination of the symbolism, mythology, and practices of various esoteric traditions, making The Secret Teachings of All Ages a valuable resource for those interested in the history of spirituality and the occult. Chapter 1. The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies which have influenced modern Masonic symbolism. The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies which have influenced modern Masonic symbolism is the first chapter of Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. In this chapter, Hall explores the historical and philosophical roots of Masonic symbolism, tracing its origins to the ancient mystery schools of Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Hall begins by discussing the importance of symbolism in ancient cultures, noting that symbols were used as a means of communicating profound spiritual and philosophical ideas to initiates. He then turns his attention to the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, describing how the teachings of the Egyptian priests influenced later mystery traditions, including those of Greece and Rome. Hall then explores the role of secret societies in preserving and transmitting esoteric knowledge throughout history. He discusses the Eleusinian mysteries of ancient Greece, the Dionysian mysteries of Rome, and the Mithraic mysteries of Persia, all of which he suggests influenced the development of modern Masonic symbolism. Hall also provides a detailed overview of the history and philosophy of Freemasonry, tracing its roots to the guilds of medieval stonemasons and suggesting that Masonic symbolism reflects the same ancient wisdom traditions that influenced the mystery schools and secret societies of the past. Throughout the chapter, Hall emphasizes the importance of understanding the symbolic language used by these ancient traditions, arguing that the true meaning of their teachings can only be understood through a deep study of symbolism and allegory. Overall, the ancient mysteries and secret societies which have influenced modern Masonic symbolism provides a detailed and insightful exploration of the historical and philosophical roots of Masonic symbolism, illuminating the connections between this tradition and the esoteric wisdom of ancient cultures. Chapter 2. The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies, Part 2. In The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies, Part 2, Manly P. Hall continues his exploration of the esoteric teachings and practices of ancient secret societies. He begins by discussing the concept of the double, term used to describe the idea of a second self or spiritual counterpart that exists alongside one's physical body. Hall goes on to examine the symbolism of various mythological figures such as Osiris, Dionysus, and Mithras, and their significance within ancient mystery traditions. He also discusses the role of the priest-king and the initiation rituals that were performed to mark their ascent to this position. The chapter then turns to an analysis of the symbolism found in the art and architecture of ancient civilizations, particularly the Egyptians and the Greeks. Hall explores the significance of the pyramids and temples, as well as the use of sacred geometry in their construction. Hall also delves into the origins and practices of the Eleusinian Mysteries, a Greek religious festival that was held in honor of the goddess Demeter and her daughter Persephone. He examines the various stages of initiation and the symbolism associated with each, including the use of hallucinogenic substances to induce mystical experiences. The chapter concludes with a discussion of the various ways in which these ancient mysteries and secret societies have influenced modern culture, particularly in the realm of symbolism and the occult. Hall argues that the study of these traditions can provide valuable insights into the nature of human consciousness and the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. Overall, The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies, Part 2, provides a detailed and insightful exploration of the esoteric teachings and practices of ancient secret societies, shedding light on their symbolism, mythology, and influence on modern culture. Chapter 3. Atlantis and the Gods of Antiquity. The chapter, Atlantis and the Gods of Antiquity, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the myth of Atlantis and its significance in ancient cultures. Hall begins by describing the origins of the Atlantis myth, which he claims can be traced back to ancient Egyptian and Greek texts. According to Hall, Atlantis was a highly advanced civilization that existed on a now-sunken continent in the Atlantic Ocean. This civilization was said to have possessed advanced technology and knowledge, including mastery of the elements and the ability to control the weather. Hall then discusses the significance of the Atlantis myth in various ancient cultures, including Egypt, Greece, and the Americas. He argues that many ancient cultures viewed Atlantis as a symbol of a lost golden age, a time when humanity was in harmony with the universe and possessed a deep understanding of the natural world. Hall also explores the role of the gods in the Atlantis myth, noting that many cultures believed that the gods were intimately involved in the rise and fall of the civilization. He describes various gods and goddesses associated with Atlantis, including Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea, and Osiris, the Egyptian god of life and fertility. Finally, Hall examines the significance of the Atlantis myth in the context of esoteric philosophy. He argues that the story of Atlantis can be seen as a metaphor for the fall of humanity from a state of spiritual enlightenment into the material world of ignorance and illusion. He suggests that the ultimate goal of esoteric philosophy is to rediscover the wisdom of the lost golden age and to attain spiritual enlightenment. Overall, the chapter, Atlantis and the Gods of Antiquity, provides a detailed exploration of the Atlantis myth and its significance in ancient cultures and esoteric philosophy. Hall's analysis highlights the enduring appeal of this myth and its relevance to spiritual seekers throughout history. Chapter 4. The Life and Teachings of Thoth Hermes Trismegistus. The Life and Teachings of Thoth Hermes Trismegistus is one of the chapters in The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. This chapter explores the mythology and philosophy surrounding Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, and the figure of Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure who was believed to be the Greek counterpart of Thoth. Hall begins the chapter by tracing the origins of Thoth to ancient Egypt, where he was revered as the god of writing, science, and magic. Thoth was often depicted as a man with the head of an ibis or a baboon, and was associated with the moon and the measurement of time. He was also believed to be the author of the sacred texts known as the Book of the Dead and the Book of Thoth. Hall then turns to the figure of Hermes Trismegistus, who was believed to be a fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. According to legend, Hermes Trismegistus was a wise sage who possessed knowledge of all the sciences, arts, and philosophies of the ancient world. He was said to have written many books on these subjects, which became the basis for the Hermetic tradition of philosophy. Hall goes on to explore the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, which he describes as a fusion of Egyptian, Greek, and Gnostic philosophies. The core teachings of Hermetic philosophy include the principles of correspondence, as above, so below, polarity, everything is dual, and vibration, everything is in motion. Hermetic philosophy also emphasizes the importance of inner transformation and spiritual development. Hall concludes the chapter by highlighting the enduring influence of the teachings of Thoth and Hermes Trismegistus on Western esotericism. He notes that Hermetic philosophy was a major influence on the Renaissance and the Enlightenment and continues to be studied and practiced by modern occultists and spiritual seekers. In summary, the life and teachings of Thoth Hermes Trismegistus explores the mythology and philosophy surrounding Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, and the figure of Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure who was believed to be the Greek counterpart of Thoth. The chapter delves into the teachings of Hermetic philosophy, which emphasizes the principles of correspondence, polarity, and vibration, and underscores the enduring influence of these teachings on Western esotericism. Chapter 5: The Initiation of the Pyramid. The chapter, The Initiation of the Pyramid, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the significance of the pyramid as a symbol of initiation and spiritual transformation. Hall begins by discussing the ancient Egyptian belief in the afterlife and the various rituals and practices associated with death and rebirth. He then moves on to describe the construction of the pyramid and its symbolism. According to Hall, the pyramid represents the human body, with the base representing the feet and the apex representing the head. The various chambers within the pyramid correspond to different levels of consciousness, with the king's chamber representing the highest state of spiritual realization. Hall goes on to describe the various initiation rituals associated with the pyramid, including the Rite of the Dead, which involved the symbolic death and rebirth of the initiate. He also discusses the role of the pharaoh as a divine mediator between the living and the dead, and the importance of the Ka, or life force, in Egyptian spirituality. Hall concludes the chapter by emphasizing the universal nature of the pyramid as a symbol of initiation and spiritual transformation. He notes that similar structures can be found in various cultures throughout history, and that the symbolism of the pyramid continues to resonate with people today. Overall, the initiation of the pyramid provides a fascinating exploration of the symbolism and significance of this ancient and powerful symbol of spiritual transformation. Chapter 6. Isis, the Virgin of the World. The chapter, Isis, the Virgin of the World, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the symbolism and mythology surrounding the Egyptian goddess Isis. Hall begins by tracing the origins of the cult of Isis, which dates back to pre-dynastic Egypt. He then delves into the various myths and legends associated with Isis, including her role as the mother goddess, the protector of women and children, and the goddess of fertility and magic. Hall also explores the connections between Isis and other deities, such as the sun god Ra and the god of the underworld, Osiris. He examines the symbolism of Isis as a virgin, emphasizing her purity and divine nature. Hall notes that the concept of the virgin birth predates Christianity and was common in many ancient religions. The chapter also explores the symbolism of the Temple of Isis, which was designed to represent the human body. Hall explains how each part of the temple corresponds to a different aspect of the body and how the ritual practices associated with the temple were designed to align the physical body with the divine. Throughout the chapter, Hall emphasizes the importance of understanding the symbolism and mythology surrounding Isis in order to unlock the deeper meanings and truths hidden within ancient Egyptian religion. He also notes the enduring influence of Isis on Western culture, particularly through the rise of the cult of the Virgin Mary in Christianity. In summary, the chapter, Isis, the Virgin of the World, provides a detailed exploration of the mythology and symbolism surrounding the Egyptian goddess Isis, highlighting her role as a divine and powerful figure in ancient religion. Chapter 7. The Sun, Universal Deity. The Sun, a Universal Deity, is the 7th chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. In this chapter, Hall explores the role of the sun in ancient and modern religions, mythology, and symbolism. The chapter begins by discussing the importance of the sun to ancient cultures, such as the Egyptians, who believed that the sun was a god and the source of all life. Hall explains that the sun was often associated with other deities, such as Osiris and Horus, and that the sun's daily journey across the sky represented the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Hall goes on to discuss the sun in other cultures, such as the Greeks, who associated the sun with Apollo, the god of light, music, and healing. The Romans also had a sun god, Sol Invictus, and celebrated the winter solstice with the festival of Saturnalia. Hall also explores the sun in Christian symbolism, where it is often associated with the figure of Christ. He notes that the halo, or nimbus, around the heads of saints is often depicted as a representation of the sun. The chapter concludes with a discussion of the sun in modern science and philosophy. Hall notes that the sun is not only a source of physical light and heat, but also a symbol of spiritual enlightenment and truth. Overall, the sun, a universal deity, provides a fascinating look at the role of the sun in human culture and spirituality. Hall's insights into the symbolism and mythology surrounding the sun provide a deeper understanding of the ways in which ancient cultures saw the world around them, and how those beliefs continue to influence our modern worldview. Chapter 8. The Zodiac and its Signs. In the chapter, The Zodiac and its Signs, in Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Hall explores the symbolism and mythology surrounding the zodiac, a concept that has existed for thousands of years. Hall explains that the zodiac is a circle of 12 constellations that lie along the path of the sun, with each sign representing a different aspect of the natural world and human experience. He notes that the zodiac has been used by many ancient cultures, including the Egyptians, Babylonians, and Greeks, and that it continues to be an important part of astrology and divination today. Hall goes on to discuss each of the 12 zodiac signs in detail, starting with Aries, which represents the beginning of the zodiac and the spring equinox. He notes that Aries is associated with the ram, a symbol of strength and courage, and that people born under this sign are said to be energetic and adventurous. Hall then moves on to Taurus, which represents the earthy and material aspects of life, and Gemini, which represents communication and duality. He continues with Cancer, which is associated with the moon and the nurturing aspects of life, and Leo, which is associated with the sun and represents power and leadership. Next, Hall discusses Virgo, which represents purity and service, and Libra, which represents balance and harmony. He then moves on to Scorpio, which represents transformation and regeneration, and Sagittarius, which represents adventure and exploration. Hall concludes with Capricorn, which represents discipline and hard work, Aquarius, which represents innovation and individuality, and Pisces, which represents spirituality and compassion. Throughout the chapter, Hall delves into the symbolism and mythology associated with each sign, discussing the ancient gods and goddesses that they represent, as well as the astrological influences and personality traits that are said to be associated with each sign. Overall, the zodiac and its signs is a fascinating exploration of one of the oldest and most enduring concepts in human history, offering insights into the way that ancient cultures viewed the cosmos and their place within it. Chapter 9. The Bembine Table of Isis. The chapter, The Bembine Table of Isis, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall focuses on the Bembine Table, circular bronze tablet from ancient Rome that depicts the Egyptian goddess Isis and various astrological and alchemical symbols. Hall explains that the Bembine Table is a representation of the mystical concepts and teachings of the Egyptian and Greek mystery schools. The table contains 7 concentric circles, each representing a different aspect of the cosmos. The innermost circle contains the figure of Isis, surrounded by various gods and goddesses of the Egyptian pantheon. The next circle depicts the zodiacal signs and their associated planets, emphasizing the importance of astrology in the ancient world. The outer circles contain various symbols related to alchemy, including the sun and moon, the 4 elements, and the 7 planets. Hall explains that the Bembine Table was likely used in the initiation rites of the Egyptian mystery schools, and its symbolism reflects the importance of astrology and alchemy in the pursuit of spiritual knowledge. He also suggests that the table contains hidden messages and codes that can be deciphered by those with the proper knowledge and understanding. Overall, the chapter provides a fascinating exploration of the symbolism and significance of the Bembine Table, highlighting its importance as a key artifact in the history of esoteric knowledge and spiritual practice. Chapter 10. Wonders of Antiquity. The chapter, Wonders of Antiquity, in Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages explores the magnificent architectural and engineering feats of ancient civilizations. The chapter begins by discussing the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is considered one of the most remarkable structures in human history. Hall explains how the pyramid's construction, which involved the precise cutting and fitting of massive stone blocks, reflects an advanced knowledge of mathematics and engineering. He goes on to discuss various theories about the pyramid's purpose, including its potential use as an astronomical observatory or a tool for harnessing cosmic energy. Next, Hall discusses the Temple of Solomon, which was considered the spiritual center of the ancient Hebrews. According to legend, the temple was built with the help of divine guidance and contained a Holy of Holies, which was the innermost chamber of the temple and believed to be the dwelling place of God. Hall then examines the ruins of ancient Babylon, including the Hanging Gardens, which were considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. He explains how the gardens, which were constructed in the 6th century BCE, featured terraced levels of vegetation that were irrigated using a complex system of pumps and water wheels. The chapter also discusses the Temple of Karnak in Egypt, which is considered one of the largest religious complexes in the world. Hall explains how the temple was dedicated to the worship of Amun, the chief deity of ancient Egypt, and features numerous statues, obelisks, and columns that reflect the advanced artistic and architectural techniques of the time. Finally, Hall explores the ruins of the city of Pompeii, which was destroyed by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE. He describes the city's well-preserved architecture, including its theaters, temples, and public baths, which offer insight into the daily life of ancient Romans. Overall, the chapter, Wonders of Antiquity, offers a fascinating glimpse into the impressive achievements of ancient civilizations and the enduring legacy of their architectural and engineering feats. Chapter 11. The Life and Philosophy of Pythagoras. The Life and Philosophy of Pythagoras is the 11th chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. This chapter explores the life and teachings of the Greek philosopher Pythagoras, who is credited with developing a complex system of philosophy, mathematics, music, and mysticism. The chapter begins with an overview of Pythagoras' life, including his birthplace on the island of Samos, his travels to Egypt and Babylon, and his establishment of a school in Croton, Italy. It then delves into Pythagoras' teachings, which were based on the idea that all things in the universe are connected and can be understood through the study of numbers and geometric forms. Pythagoras believed that numbers represented the essence of all things and that they were the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. He also believed in the concept of reincarnation and the transmigration of souls, which he believed were guided by the laws of karma. The chapter discusses Pythagoras' famous theorem, which states that the square of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides. It also explores Pythagoras' ideas about the music of the spheres, which held that the movements of the planets and stars created a celestial harmony that could be understood through the study of music and mathematics. Pythagoras' teachings had a profound influence on the development of Western philosophy and science, and the chapter explores the ways in which his ideas were transmitted through various schools of thought, including Platonic philosophy and Christian mysticism. The chapter concludes with an exploration of the legacy of Pythagoras and the enduring impact of his ideas on modern science and spirituality. Overall, the life and philosophy of Pythagoras offers a detailed and insightful exploration of one of the most influential philosophers in Western history. The chapter provides a rich and nuanced perspective on Pythagoras' teachings and offers valuable insights into the ways in which his ideas have shaped the development of human thought over the centuries. Chapter 12. Pythagorean Mathematics. The chapter on Pythagorean mathematics in The Secret Teachings of All Ages explores the mathematical and philosophical concepts of the Pythagorean school of thought. Manly P. Hall explains how Pythagoras and his followers believed that mathematics was the key to understanding the universe, and that numbers held the key to unlocking the mysteries of nature and the cosmos. The chapter begins with a brief overview of Pythagoras and his teachings, emphasizing his belief that everything in the universe could be understood through mathematical principles. Hall goes on to explain the Pythagorean theorem, which states that in a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse, the side opposite the right angle, is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. Hall then delves into the deeper philosophical implications of Pythagorean mathematics, explaining how the Pythagoreans believed that numbers were not just a tool for measuring and counting, but were actually the building blocks of the universe itself. They believed that everything in the physical world could be reduced to mathematical ratios and proportions, and that these ratios and proportions were reflections of the divine order of the universe. The chapter also explores the concept of the harmony of the spheres, which was a Pythagorean belief that the movement of the celestial bodies could be explained through musical ratios and intervals. The Pythagoreans believed that the planets and stars emitted a musical sound as they moved through space, and that this sound was the cosmic music of the universe. In addition to discussing Pythagorean philosophy, the chapter also provides an overview of some of the mathematical concepts developed by the Pythagoreans, including the theory of proportion, the concept of irrational numbers, and the discovery of the 5 regular polyhedra, known as the Platonic solids. Overall, the chapter on Pythagorean mathematics provides a fascinating exploration of the relationship between mathematics, philosophy, and spirituality in the Pythagorean tradition. It highlights the importance of numbers and mathematical ratios in understanding the mysteries of the universe, and demonstrates the profound influence that Pythagoras and his followers had on the development of Western philosophy and science. Chapter 13. The Human Body in Symbolism. The Human Body in Symbolism is one of the chapters in the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall. This chapter explores the symbolic meaning of various parts of the human body as they appear in different cultures and mystical traditions. The chapter begins with an examination of the human form as a microcosm of the universe. According to this view, the human body contains within it all the elements of the cosmos and reflects the patterns and cycles of the natural world. Hall then goes on to explore the symbolism of individual body parts. For example, he notes that the head represents the higher self, the seat of consciousness and divine inspiration. The arms and hands symbolize the power of action and creation, while the legs and feet represent the ability to move and manifest in the physical world. The chapter also examines the symbolic significance of various bodily fluids and functions, such as blood, semen, and digestion. In many mystical traditions, these bodily processes are seen as metaphors for spiritual transformation and purification. Hall also discusses the concept of the chakras, or energy centers, which are believed to exist within the human body in many Eastern mystical traditions. Each chakra is associated with a particular part of the body and represents a different aspect of the individual's spiritual journey. The chapter concludes with a discussion of the symbolic meaning of the human form in art and architecture. Throughout history, the human body has been depicted in various ways to convey different messages and ideas, from the beauty and perfection of the classical Greek ideal to the grotesque and distorted figures of medieval art. Overall, the human body in symbolism offers a fascinating exploration of the rich and varied ways in which the human body has been used as a symbol in different cultures and mystical traditions throughout history. Chapter 14. The Hiramic Legend. The Hiramic Legend is the 14th chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. It is an exploration of the symbolism and allegory found in the story of the murder of Hiram Abiff, which is central to the mythology of Freemasonry. According to the legend, Hiram Abiff was a skilled craftsman who played a crucial role in the construction of King Solomon's temple. He was entrusted with the secrets of the temple's construction, including the name of the grand architect of the universe, which was believed to be the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. However, 3 of the temple workers, known as the Jews, coveted Hiram's knowledge and conspired to obtain it from him. They approached Hiram on 3 separate occasions, demanding that he reveal the secrets of the temple. Each time, Hiram refused to divulge the information. On the 4th occasion, the Jews attacked Hiram and killed him, burying his body in a shallow grave. His death was a great loss to the Masonic community, as he was the only one who possessed the complete knowledge of the temple's construction. However, Hiram's death was also seen as a symbolic sacrifice that represented the triumph of good over evil and the eternal nature of the soul. The story of Hiram Abiff is rich in symbolism, and Hall explores its various interpretations in depth. He suggests that the story is a representation of the human soul's journey through life, with Hiram representing the divine spark within each individual. The Jews, in turn, represent the negative aspects of the self that seek to destroy this divine spark. Hall also suggests that the story is a representation of the sun's journey through the zodiac, with Hiram representing the sun and the Jews representing the constellations that seek to obscure its light. In this interpretation, Hiram's death represents the winter solstice, when the sun is at its lowest point, and his resurrection represents the spring equinox, when the sun is reborn and begins its ascent. Overall, the Hiramic legend is a fascinating exploration of the symbolism and allegory found in the story of Hiram Abiff. It demonstrates the rich and complex nature of Freemasonic mythology and its enduring relevance to spiritual seekers of all backgrounds. Chapter 15. The Pythagorean Theory of Music and Color. The Pythagorean Theory of Music and Color is one of the chapters in The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. It explores the ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras' theory that music and color are interconnected and have a mathematical foundation. The chapter begins by discussing the Pythagorean understanding of the universe, which was based on the concept of number. Pythagoras believed that everything in the universe could be reduced to numbers, which represented the fundamental principles of creation. He also believed that music was the highest form of expression and that it was intimately connected to the laws of the universe. According to Pythagoras, the relationship between music and color was based on the concept of harmony. He believed that just as musical notes could be combined in a harmonious way to create pleasing sounds, colors could also be combined in a harmonious way to create pleasing visual experiences. Pythagoras developed a system for relating musical notes to colors, based on their frequency or wavelength. The chapter goes on to explore the relationship between musical intervals and color intervals, noting that the octave is the most important interval in both music and color. Pythagoras believed that the octave represented a perfect balance and harmony, and that all other musical and color intervals could be derived from it. He also believed that each musical note and color had a specific spiritual and emotional quality, and that by understanding these qualities, one could use music and color to heal and balance the body and mind. The chapter concludes by discussing the use of music and color in ancient Greek culture, particularly in the context of the Pythagorean Brotherhood. Pythagoras and his followers believed that by studying music and color, they could gain a deeper understanding of the universe and the divine principles that governed it. Overall, the Pythagorean theory of music and color provides a fascinating glimpse into the ancient Greek understanding of the relationship between music and color, and the mathematical principles that underlie both. The chapter highlights the importance of harmony and balance in both musical and visual art forms, and the potential for music and color to be used as powerful tools for spiritual and emotional healing. Chapter 16. Fishes, Insects, Animals, Reptiles, and Birds. The chapter, Fishes, Insects, Animals, Reptiles, and Birds, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the symbolism and significance of various creatures in the esoteric traditions of different cultures. The chapter begins with a discussion of the symbolic meaning of fishes in Christianity and other religions, including the story of the loaves and fishes and the symbolism of the fish as a representation of the soul. The chapter then moves on to examine the symbolism of insects, focusing on the beetle as a symbol of rebirth and regeneration in ancient Egypt. Other insects, such as the butterfly and the ant, are also discussed in terms of their symbolic meaning in various cultures. The following section of the chapter explores the symbolism of animals, beginning with the lion as a symbol of royalty and strength in ancient Egypt and other cultures. Other animals, such as the bull and the serpent, are also examined in terms of their symbolic significance. The section concludes with a discussion of the unicorn as a symbol of purity and the phoenix as a symbol of rebirth. The next section of the chapter is devoted to the symbolism of reptiles, particularly the serpent. The serpent is examined in terms of its symbolic meaning in various cultures, including ancient Egypt, India, and Greece. The section also includes a discussion of the symbolism of the crocodile, the turtle, and the chameleon. Finally, the chapter concludes with a discussion of the symbolism of birds, beginning with the eagle as a symbol of strength and power in ancient Rome and other cultures. Other birds, such as the swan, the peacock, and the phoenix, are also examined in terms of their symbolic meaning in various cultures. Throughout the chapter, Hall emphasizes the importance of understanding the symbolic meaning of creatures in various cultures as a way to gain insight into the spiritual and philosophical beliefs of those cultures. He also notes that many of these symbols have been adopted and adapted by different cultures over time, emphasizing the universality of certain aspects of spiritual and philosophical beliefs. Overall, the chapter provides a fascinating glimpse into the complex and diverse world of esoteric symbolism. Chapter 17. Flowers, Plants, Fruits, and Trees. The chapter, Flowers, Plants, Fruits, and Trees, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the symbolic meanings and spiritual significance of various plants, flowers, fruits, and trees throughout history. The chapter begins by discussing the significance of plants and flowers in ancient cultures, including the use of herbs in medicine and the symbolic associations of plants with deities and celestial bodies. Hall goes on to explore the symbolic meanings of specific plants, such as the lotus, which is associated with spiritual enlightenment and purity in Hinduism and Buddhism, and the acacia, which is considered sacred in Freemasonry and symbolizes resurrection and immortality. The chapter also delves into the spiritual significance of fruits, including the apple, which is associated with knowledge and temptation in Judeo-Christian mythology, and the pomegranate, which is considered a symbol of fertility and abundance in many cultures. Finally, the chapter examines the symbolism of trees, such as the oak, which was revered by the Druids and symbolizes strength and endurance, and the yew, which is associated with death and regeneration in Celtic mythology. Throughout the chapter, Hall emphasizes the importance of understanding the spiritual symbolism of plants, flowers, fruits, and trees, as they can provide insights into the mysteries of the universe and the nature of the human soul. He notes that many ancient cultures believed that the natural world was infused with spiritual energy and that by understanding the symbolic meanings of plants and other natural phenomena, humans could connect with this energy and unlock higher levels of consciousness. Overall, Flowers, Plants, Fruits, and Trees is a fascinating exploration of the spiritual significance of the natural world, offering insights into the symbolic language that has been used by cultures throughout history to convey complex spiritual concepts. Chapter 18. The Fulcanelli Phenomenon. The Fulcanelli Phenomenon is a chapter in the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall. In this chapter, Hall explores the mysterious figure of Fulcanelli, a French alchemist who supposedly possessed the secrets of the Philosopher's Stone and the elixir of life. According to Hall, Fulcanelli was an enigmatic figure who appeared in the early 20th century and wrote several books on alchemy and the occult. His most famous work, Le Mystère des Cathedrals, The Mystery of the Cathedrals, explored the hidden symbolism and meaning behind the Gothic cathedrals of Europe, suggesting that they were built by alchemists as a means of transmitting their esoteric knowledge to future generations. Hall notes that Fulcanelli's writings are filled with arcane symbols and esoteric references, and that his true identity and whereabouts remain unknown to this day. Many people have speculated that he was a member of a secret society or a practitioner of the ancient art of alchemy, and some even claim that he possessed the secret of the Philosopher's Stone, a substance that was said to transmute base metals into gold and grant immortality to those who consumed it. Hall goes on to describe the influence that Fulcanelli had on the world of alchemy and the occult, noting that his ideas and writings inspired many other practitioners to pursue the ancient art. He also discusses some of the theories surrounding Fulcanelli's true identity, including the possibility that he was a group of individuals rather than a single person. Overall, the Fulcanelli phenomenon is a fascinating exploration of one of the most mysterious figures in the history of alchemy and the occult. Hall's insights and observations shed light on the enduring fascination that Fulcanelli has held for generations of seekers, and his chapter offers valuable insights into the hidden symbolism and meaning of the ancient art of alchemy. The Fulcanelli Phenomenon is a chapter in the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall. In this chapter, Hall delves into the enigmatic figure of Fulcanelli, a French alchemist who wrote several books on alchemy and the occult, including Le Mystère des Cathedrals, The Mystery of the Cathedrals. Hall notes that Fulcanelli's writings were filled with symbols and references that were difficult to decipher, and that his true identity remained unknown to this day. Nevertheless, his ideas and writings have had a profound impact on the world of alchemy and the occult. One of the main topics that Hall discusses in this chapter is the idea that the Gothic cathedrals of Europe were actually built by alchemists as a means of transmitting their esoteric knowledge to future generations. Fulcanelli believed that the cathedrals were filled with hidden symbolism and codes that only those who possessed the key to alchemical knowledge could decipher. Hall also explores some of the theories surrounding Fulcanelli's true identity, including the possibility that he was a group of individuals rather than a single person. Some have speculated that Fulcanelli was a member of a secret society, while others believe that he was a practitioner of the ancient art of alchemy who possessed the secret of the philosopher's stone. Overall, the Fulcanelli phenomenon is a fascinating exploration of one of the most mysterious figures in the history of alchemy and the occult. Hall's insights and observations shed light on the enduring fascination that Fulcanelli has held for generations of seekers, and his chapter offers valuable insights into the hidden symbolism and meaning of the ancient art of alchemy. Chapter 19. The Mysteries and Their Emissaries. In the chapter, The Mysteries and Their Emissaries, in the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall, the author explores the nature of the ancient mystery schools and their influence on the development of human civilization. The chapter begins with an examination of the mythological origins of the mystery schools, tracing their roots back to the legendary figures of Hermes Trismegistus and Orpheus. According to Hall, these figures were the founders of the ancient schools of wisdom that sought to uncover the hidden knowledge of the universe. Hall goes on to describe the various mystery schools that existed throughout history, including the Eleusinian mysteries of ancient Greece, the Osirian mysteries of ancient Egypt, and the Mithraic mysteries of ancient Rome. Each of these schools had its own unique teachings and practices, but all shared a common goal: the attainment of spiritual knowledge and enlightenment. The author then turns his attention to the role of the emissaries of the mystery schools, the teachers and initiates who were responsible for passing on the secret knowledge to new generations. Hall describes the rigorous training that these emissaries underwent, as well as the codes of conduct that they were expected to follow. One of the most important roles of the emissaries was to ensure the preservation of the secret knowledge of the mystery schools. According to Hall, this knowledge was transmitted through a variety of means, including symbolism, allegory, and myth. The author provides numerous examples of these symbolic teachings, such as the story of the Egyptian god Osiris, which was said to represent the cycle of death and rebirth. Hall also explores the relationship between the mystery schools and other esoteric traditions, such as alchemy, astrology, and numerology. He suggests that these disciplines were all part of a larger system of knowledge, each offering a unique perspective on the mysteries of the universe. In conclusion, The Mysteries and Their Emissaries provides a fascinating glimpse into the world of the ancient mystery schools, their teachings, and their influence on the development of human civilization. It highlights the importance of preserving and transmitting esoteric knowledge through the ages, and reminds us of the profound wisdom that can be found in the symbolic teachings of the past. Chapter 20. The Kabbalah and the Mysteries of Life. The Kabbalah and the Mysteries of Life is a chapter in The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall that explores the teachings of the Kabbalah, a mystical tradition within Judaism. Hall begins the chapter by discussing the origins of the Kabbalah, tracing its roots back to the ancient Egyptian mysteries and the Jewish Merkabah tradition. He notes that the Kabbalah has been a highly influential esoteric tradition, inspiring the works of many occultists and mystics throughout history. Hall then delves into the key concepts of the Kabbalah, such as the Tree of Life and the 10 Sephiroth. He explains that the Tree of Life is a symbolic representation of the universe, with the Sephiroth representing various aspects of the divine. Hall also discusses the importance of meditation and visualization in Kabbalistic practice, noting that these techniques can be used to achieve spiritual insight and transformation. Hall goes on to explore the relationship between the Kabbalah and other esoteric traditions, such as Hermeticism and alchemy. He notes that many of these traditions share similar concepts and symbols, suggesting a common root in ancient mystery teachings. The chapter also discusses the role of the Kabbalah in Jewish mysticism and theology. Hall explains that the Kabbalah is seen by many as a way to understand the nature of God and the universe, and that it has played a significant role in shaping Jewish thought and practice. Throughout the chapter, Hall provides numerous examples of Kabbalistic symbolism and teachings, explaining their meaning and significance. He also explores the ways in which the Kabbalah has influenced Western esotericism, including the works of notable figures such as Aleister Crowley and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Overall, the Kabbalah and the Mysteries of Life provides a comprehensive overview of the Kabbalah and its teachings, highlighting its significance as a mystical tradition and its impact on Western esotericism. Chapter 21. The Alchemists. The chapter, The Alchemists, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the history, philosophy, and practices of alchemy. Hall begins the chapter by describing the goals of alchemy, which he notes are not simply the transmutation of base metals into gold, but rather the attainment of spiritual purification and enlightenment. Hall traces the origins of alchemy back to ancient Egypt and Greece, where the practice was closely linked to the study of medicine and metallurgy. He then describes the development of alchemy in Europe during the Middle Ages, noting that it was closely associated with the rise of Christian mysticism and the search for the philosopher's stone, which was believed to have the power to transmute base metals into gold and grant eternal life. Hall goes on to discuss the various stages of the alchemical process, which he explains are represented symbolically by the colors black, white, yellow, and red. He notes that these colors correspond to various philosophical and spiritual concepts, such as the purging of impurities, the purification of the soul, and the attainment of divine wisdom. Hall also examines the symbolism of the alchemical laboratory, which he notes was often seen as a microcosm of the universe, with each element and substance representing a different aspect of reality. He discusses the role of the alchemist in this process, noting that the alchemist was not simply a technician, but rather a philosopher and mystic who sought to use the alchemical process as a means of attaining spiritual enlightenment. Throughout the chapter, Hall references the writings and teachings of various alchemists, including Paracelsus, Hermes Trismegistus, and Nicolas Flamel. He also provides a detailed analysis of alchemical symbolism, including the use of the sun and moon as alchemical symbols, and the significance of the various alchemical animals, such as the phoenix and the dragon. In conclusion, Hall notes that while alchemy is often dismissed as a primitive and misguided form of science, it is in fact a deeply spiritual and mystical practice that seeks to unite the physical and spiritual realms. He argues that the symbolism and teachings of alchemy have much to offer those who seek spiritual enlightenment, and that the alchemical process remains relevant and valuable in the modern era. Chapter 22. The Theory and Practice of Alchemy. The Theory and Practice of Alchemy is one of the chapters in The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. In this chapter, Hall explores the history, symbolism, and practices of alchemy, a mystical and philosophical tradition that sought to transform base metals into gold and discover the elixir of life. Hall begins the chapter by discussing the origins of alchemy, which can be traced back to ancient Egypt and Greece. He explains that alchemy was not just a physical science, but also a spiritual practice that sought to purify the soul and achieve spiritual enlightenment. Hall then explores the symbolism of alchemy, including the use of metals and elements to represent different spiritual concepts. For example, gold represented spiritual purity and enlightenment, while lead represented the darkness and impurities of the soul. Hall also discusses the use of symbols such as the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life, which were believed to hold the key to spiritual transformation and immortality. Next, Hall describes the different stages of the alchemical process, which included purification, fermentation, distillation, and calcination. He explains that these processes were not just physical, but also spiritual, and were meant to purify the soul and transform the alchemist's consciousness. Hall also discusses the role of the alchemist, who was both a scientist and a mystic. He explains that alchemists were often seen as heretics and persecuted by the church, but they were also revered for their knowledge and believed to possess secret wisdom. Finally, Hall explores the legacy of alchemy and its impact on modern science and philosophy. He argues that alchemy laid the foundation for modern chemistry and physics, and that its spiritual teachings continue to inspire seekers of wisdom and enlightenment. Overall, the theory and practice of alchemy is a fascinating exploration of a complex and mystical tradition. Hall's detailed analysis of alchemy's history, symbolism, and practices provides a valuable resource for anyone interested in the history of spirituality and the occult. Chapter 23. The Hermetic and Alchemical Figures of Claudius de Domenico Celentano Vallis Novi. The chapter, The Hermetic and Alchemical Figures of Claudius de Domenico Celentano Vallis Novi, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the work of an obscure 17th-century Italian alchemist named Claudius de Domenico Celentano Vallis Novi. The chapter begins with an overview of the principles of alchemy and how they relate to the Hermetic tradition, which is concerned with the pursuit of spiritual and philosophical knowledge through the study of esoteric texts and symbols. The chapter then delves into the life and work of Claudius de Domenico Celentano Vallis Novi, whose alchemical writings were discovered in the early 20th century by a French alchemist named Fulcanelli. Hall describes how little is known about Vallis Novi's life, but his alchemical texts contain numerous illustrations that provide insight into his worldview and beliefs. Hall analyzes Vallis Novi's illustrations and describes how they relate to the principles of alchemy and the Hermetic tradition. He notes that Vallis Novi's images are highly symbolic and complex, often containing numerous layers of meaning. Many of the images depict the alchemical process of transformation, which involves the purification and transmutation of base metals into gold, a metaphor for the transformation of the soul. Hall explains that Vallis Novi's work is notable for its emphasis on the spiritual and mystical aspects of alchemy rather than the purely practical pursuit of transmuting base metals into gold. Vallis Novi's writings and illustrations reveal a deep understanding of the Hermetic tradition and its teachings on the nature of reality and the human soul. In conclusion, the chapter on Claudius de Domenico Celentano Vallis Novi provides a detailed analysis of the work of an obscure Italian alchemist and its place in the broader tradition of Hermetic philosophy and alchemy. It offers valuable insight into the complex symbolism and spiritual principles underlying the practice of alchemy, and demonstrates how the pursuit of esoteric knowledge has been a constant thread throughout human history. Chapter 24. Rosicrucianism and its connection with Freemasonry. The chapter, Rosicrucianism and its connection with Freemasonry, in Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, explores the historical and philosophical connections between two of the most prominent esoteric traditions in Western civilization. The chapter begins with a discussion of the origins of the Rosicrucian movement in the early 17th century, tracing its roots to the alchemical and Hermetic traditions of the Renaissance. Hall notes that the Rosicrucians were known for their emphasis on spiritual transformation and the pursuit of esoteric knowledge, which they believed could be attained through a combination of study, meditation, and practical experimentation. Hall then turns his attention to the relationship between Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry, arguing that the two traditions share a common heritage and that many of the symbols and rituals used in modern Freemasonry can be traced back to the Rosicrucian movement. He notes that both groups were heavily influenced by the Hermetic and alchemical teachings of the Renaissance, and that they shared a common interest in the pursuit of spiritual knowledge and the development of the self. Hall also discusses the role of Francis Bacon, the famous philosopher and statesman, in both the Rosicrucian and Masonic traditions. He notes that Bacon was a firm believer in the power of esoteric knowledge and that he played an instrumental role in the development of both traditions. Hall argues that Bacon's writings, particularly his New Atlantis, were instrumental in shaping the worldview of both groups and that they helped to create a common language and set of symbols that were used by Rosicrucians and Freemasons alike. Finally, Hall explores some of the specific symbols and rituals used in both traditions, noting that many of them have deep roots in the alchemical and Hermetic traditions of the Renaissance. He discusses the use of the rose, the cross, and the triangle as symbols of spiritual transformation and notes that these symbols can be found in both Rosicrucian and Masonic symbolism. He also discusses the importance of initiation rituals in both traditions and notes that these rituals are designed to help the individual move from a state of ignorance to a state of spiritual enlightenment. Overall, the chapter, Rosicrucianism and its connection with Freemasonry, provides a detailed and insightful exploration of the historical and philosophical connections between two of the most important esoteric traditions in Western civilization. Hall's analysis highlights the shared heritage and common interests of these two traditions and helps to deepen our understanding of their place in the broader history of spirituality and the occult. Chapter 25. Masonic Symbolism. The chapter, Masonic Symbolism, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall, is a detailed exploration of the symbolism used in Freemasonry, one of the world's oldest and most influential secret societies. Hall begins by discussing the origin and history of Freemasonry, tracing its roots back to ancient Egypt and its influence on the development of modern Western culture. He then delves into the symbolism used in Masonic rituals, exploring the significance of various objects, gestures, and phrases. One of the most important symbols in Freemasonry is the square and compass, which represents the balance between the physical and spiritual aspects of existence. Hall also examines the symbolism of the Masonic apron, which represents purity of heart and mind, and the various tools used in Masonic rituals, such as the trowel and level. Hall goes on to explore the symbolism of the Masonic lodge, the role of the worshipful master, and the importance of secrecy and confidentiality in Masonic teachings. He also discusses the Masonic legends of Hiram Abiff and King Solomon, which illustrate the importance of fidelity, courage, and wisdom in the Masonic tradition. Throughout the chapter, Hall emphasizes the importance of symbolism in Masonic teachings and the role of allegory and metaphor in conveying deeper spiritual truths. He also notes that the true meaning of many Masonic symbols may be lost or misunderstood by those who do not possess the proper knowledge and understanding of the tradition. Overall, the chapter, Masonic Symbolism, provides a fascinating insight into the rich history and symbolism of Freemasonry, shedding light on one of the world's most enduring secret societies. Chapter 26. The Cryptogram as a Factor in Symbolic Philosophy. The Cryptogram as a Factor in Symbolic Philosophy is the 26th chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. In this chapter, Hall explores the use of cryptograms in various esoteric traditions and their role in symbolic philosophy. A cryptogram is a code or puzzle that uses symbols or letters to represent a message or word. In esoteric traditions, cryptograms were often used to conceal important teachings or symbols from those who were not initiated. Hall notes that cryptograms were used in ancient times to preserve knowledge and to ensure that only those who were worthy could access it. Hall explores the use of cryptograms in various traditions, including Egyptian, Greek, and Hebrew. In Egypt, hieroglyphics were used as a form of cryptogram, while in Greece, the Delphic oracle used cryptograms to communicate with initiates. In Hebrew tradition, the Kabbalistic system of gematria used letters and numbers to reveal hidden meanings in the Torah. Hall also notes the use of cryptograms in the works of various esoteric authors, including Francis Bacon and John D. Bacon, in particular, is said to have used cryptograms in his works to conceal important teachings and symbols. The chapter goes on to explore the significance of the cryptogram in symbolic philosophy. Hall notes that the use of cryptograms can help to reveal hidden truths and teachings that are not accessible through ordinary means. He suggests that the use of cryptograms in symbolic philosophy is a way of transmitting knowledge from one generation to the next, ensuring that it is preserved and protected. In conclusion, The Cryptogram as a Factor in Symbolic Philosophy is a chapter that explores the use of cryptograms in various esoteric traditions and their role in symbolic philosophy. It provides a fascinating insight into the ways in which cryptograms have been used to preserve knowledge and reveal hidden meanings throughout history. Chapter 27. Mystic Christianity. The chapter, Mystic Christianity, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the esoteric aspects of Christianity, focusing on the mystical teachings and practices that have been preserved throughout history. Hall begins by discussing the origins of Christianity, noting that the teachings of Jesus Christ were initially transmitted orally and through allegorical stories before they were written down in the New Testament. He then examines the Gnostic and Hermetic traditions that influenced early Christian mysticism, including the concepts of gnosis, knowledge, logos, the word, and the divine spark within each individual. Hall goes on to discuss the symbolism of the cross and the crucifixion, noting that these are not only physical events but also spiritual allegories that represent the process of spiritual transformation and rebirth. He also explores the role of the Holy Spirit in Christian mysticism, describing it as the source of divine inspiration and illumination that guides the seeker on their path to enlightenment. Throughout the chapter, Hall provides numerous examples of Christian mystics and their teachings, including Meister Eckhart, Johannes Tauler, and Jacob Boehme. He also examines the mystical aspects of the sacraments, such as baptism, the Eucharist, and the anointing of the sick, noting that these rituals have a deeper significance beyond their outward form. In addition to discussing the mystical teachings of Christianity, Hall also explores the history of the Church and its relationship with esotericism. He notes that while the Church has often suppressed or condemned esoteric teachings and practices, there have also been individuals within the Church who have embraced and promoted them. Overall, mystic Christianity provides a fascinating look at the esoteric aspects of Christianity and the ways in which these teachings have influenced spiritual seekers throughout history. Chapter 28. The Cross and the Crucifixion. The chapter, The Cross and the Crucifixion, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall delves into the symbolism and meaning of the cross and the crucifixion in various religious and spiritual traditions. The chapter begins by exploring the origins of the cross as a symbol, which predates Christianity and can be found in ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Greece, and India. The cross symbolizes the intersection of the spiritual and material worlds, as well as the four elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and the four directions, north, south, east, and west. The chapter then moves on to discuss the crucifixion, which is central to Christian theology. Hall argues that the story of the crucifixion is not meant to be taken literally, but rather is a symbolic representation of the process of spiritual transformation. The crucifixion represents the death of the lower self and the rebirth of the higher self, which is a common theme in many spiritual traditions. Hall also explores the concept of the mystical Christ, which represents the divine spark within each individual. He explains that the goal of spiritual practice is to awaken this divine spark and become one with the mystical Christ, which is the ultimate goal of human existence. The chapter then delves into the esoteric meaning of the crucifixion, which includes concepts such as the cosmic Christ and the crucifixion of the divine soul. Hall explains that the crucifixion is not just an historical event, but rather is a universal symbol that represents the death and rebirth of the soul. Overall, the chapter, The Cross and the Crucifixion, provides a deep exploration of the symbolic meaning of the cross and the crucifixion in various spiritual traditions. Hall argues that the crucifixion is not just a literal event in Christian history, but rather is a universal symbol of spiritual transformation that can be found in many different cultures and traditions. Chapter 29. The Mystery of the Apocalypse. The chapter titled The Mystery of the Apocalypse, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall delves into the esoteric meaning behind the biblical book of Revelation, also known as the Apocalypse. Hall explores the symbolic language used in the text and how it relates to the mysteries of ancient religions and secret societies. The chapter begins with an explanation of the word apocalypse, which means revelation or unveiling. Hall notes that the book of Revelation is not meant to be taken literally but instead contains a deeper, symbolic meaning that is meant to be understood by those who have been initiated into the mysteries. Hall then proceeds to provide an overview of the book of Revelation, discussing the visions of John, the 7 seals, the 4 horsemen, and the symbolism of the number 7. He notes that the book of Revelation is heavily influenced by earlier mythologies, particularly those of Egypt and Persia, and that the language used in the text is highly symbolic. Hall goes on to explore the significance of the number 7, which appears throughout the book of Revelation. He explains that in ancient mythologies, the number 7 was associated with the 7 planets and the 7 days of the week. It was also seen as a symbol of completeness and perfection. Hall then turns his attention to the symbolism of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which are often interpreted as representing war, famine, pestilence, and death. He notes, however, that in the original Greek text, the riders are described as conquerors rather than as bringers of destruction. This, he suggests, may indicate that the horsemen represent spiritual forces rather than literal events. Finally, Hall discusses the symbolism of the New Jerusalem, which is described in the book of Revelation as a city of gold with gates of pearl. He suggests that the New Jerusalem represents a state of consciousness that can be attained through spiritual initiation. He notes that similar descriptions of heavenly cities can be found in other mythologies, such as the city of the gods in ancient Egypt. In conclusion, the chapter on The Mystery of the Apocalypse, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, provides a detailed exploration of the symbolism and meaning behind the book of Revelation. Hall demonstrates how the language and imagery of the text are drawn from ancient mythologies and suggests that the book is meant to be understood on a deeper, spiritual level. Chapter 30. The Tree of the Sephiroth. The Tree of the Sephiroth is the 31st chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. This chapter is dedicated to the study of the Tree of Life, a symbol used in various esoteric traditions to represent the structure of the universe and the nature of divine creation. The chapter begins by providing an overview of the Tree of Life, explaining that it is a diagram consisting of 10 spheres, called Sephiroth, which are connected by 22 paths. These Sephiroth represent various aspects of divine creation, from the pure and infinite divine essence at the top, to the physical world of material manifestation at the bottom. The chapter goes on to explore the symbolism and meaning of each Sephira in detail, beginning with Kether, the crown, which represents the pure and infinite essence of God. The Sephira of Chokmah, the second sphere, represents the divine wisdom and the creative power of God, while Binah, the third sphere, represents the divine understanding and the organizing power of God. The remaining Sephiroth, from Chase to Malkuth, are explored in similar detail, each one representing a different aspect of divine creation and the spiritual journey towards enlightenment. The chapter also discusses the paths connecting the Sephiroth, which represent the various stages and challenges encountered on the spiritual path. Throughout the chapter, Paul draws upon various esoteric traditions, including Kabbalah, Hermeticism, and alchemy, to explore the symbolism and meaning of the Tree of Life. He also discusses the practical applications of this symbol, such as its use in meditation and spiritual practice. Overall, the Tree of the Sephiroth is a detailed and comprehensive exploration of one of the most important symbols in esoteric traditions, providing valuable insights into the nature of divine creation and the spiritual journey towards enlightenment. Chapter 31. A Tarot Trump. The chapter, A Tarot Trump, in Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, explores the symbolism and significance of the tarot card known as the Fool or the Jester, which is often considered the first card in the tarot deck. Hall explains that the tarot is a system of divination and symbolism that has been used for centuries to gain insight into the mysteries of the universe. He notes that the tarot deck is composed of 78 cards, divided into two main groups, the Major Arcana, 22 cards, and the Minor Arcana, 56 cards. In this chapter, Hall focuses specifically on the Fool card, which he notes is often depicted as a young man or jester standing at the edge of a cliff, holding a staff and a small bundle of possessions. The card is often associated with new beginnings, new journeys, and the idea of taking risks and trusting in the unknown. Hall notes that the symbolism of the Fool card is deeply rooted in ancient mythology and philosophy. For example, he suggests that the image of the jester or clown may have its origins in the court jesters of medieval Europe, who were often seen as wise men who could speak truth to power through humor and satire. He also notes that the image of the Fool may be connected to the idea of the holy fool or wise fool in various religious and philosophical traditions, including Christianity, Hinduism, and Taoism. In these traditions, the holy fool is often seen as a person who is able to see beyond the illusions of the world and access deeper levels of truth and wisdom. Hall goes on to explore the various symbols and meanings associated with the Fool card, including the idea of the journey, the element of air, which is often associated with intellect and communication, and the concept of the number 0, which represents the void or the infinite potential of the universe. Overall, Hall's chapter on A Tarot Trump provides a detailed and insightful exploration of the symbolism and significance of one of the most iconic cards in the tarot deck. Through his examination of this card, Hall offers readers a deeper understanding of the role that symbolism and mythology play in our understanding of the universe and ourselves. Chapter 32. The Tabernacle in the Wilderness. The Tabernacle in the Wilderness is a chapter in Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, which explores the symbolism and meaning behind the tabernacle described in the Old Testament. The tabernacle was a portable sanctuary that the Israelites carried with them during their journey through the wilderness, and it served as a focal point for their worship and religious practices. According to Hall, the tabernacle was not just a physical structure, but a representation of the universe itself. He explains that the tabernacle was designed according to sacred geometry and that its measurements and proportions were based on esoteric principles. The tabernacle's structure and layout were meant to represent the order and harmony of the universe, with its various components symbolizing the different aspects of creation. The chapter goes into great detail about the different parts of the tabernacle, such as the Ark of the Covenant, the menorah, the table of showbread, and the altar of incense. Each of these components had its own symbolic significance, representing different aspects of God's nature and the principles of creation. For example, the Ark of the Covenant represented the presence of God and was said to contain the Ten Commandments, while the menorah represented the sevenfold nature of creation and the balance between light and darkness. The table of showbread represented the nourishment and sustenance provided by God, and the altar of incense represented the prayers and offerings of the people. Hall also discusses the ritual practices associated with the tabernacle, such as the offering of sacrifices and the role of the high priest. He explains that these practices were meant to help the Israelites connect with the divine and understand their place in the universe. Overall, the tabernacle in the wilderness is a fascinating exploration of the symbolism and meaning behind one of the most important structures in Jewish history. It highlights the importance of sacred geometry and esoteric principles in the design of religious structures and provides insights into the spiritual practices of the Israelites. Chapter 33. The Fraternity of the Rose Cross. The chapter, The Fraternity of the Rose Cross, in Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, explores the history and teachings of the Rosicrucian Order. The Rosicrucian Order is a mysterious organization that emerged in Europe during the 17th century and claimed to possess secret knowledge about the nature of the universe. Hall begins the chapter by describing the early history of the Rosicrucian Order, tracing its origins back to the mythical Christian Rosenkreuz. According to legend, Rosenkreuz was a German mystic who traveled to the East and received secret knowledge from Eastern adepts. When he returned to Europe, he founded the Rosicrucian Order as a means of sharing this knowledge with others. Hall goes on to describe the various stages of Rosicrucian initiation, which involved a series of trials and tests designed to purify the initiate's soul and prepare them for higher spiritual knowledge. He also discusses the Rosicrucian teachings about the nature of reality, which involved a complex system of symbols and correspondences intended to reveal the hidden spiritual dimension of the universe. One of the key themes of the chapter is the connection between the Rosicrucian Order and other esoteric traditions, including Hermeticism, alchemy, and Freemasonry. Hall notes that many of the symbols and teachings used by the Rosicrucians are also found in these other traditions, suggesting a common origin or influence. Hall also discusses the role of the Rosicrucian Order in European history, particularly in the context of the religious conflicts and political upheavals of the 17th century. He notes that the Rosicrucians were often accused of promoting heresy or sedition, and that many of their teachings were seen as a threat to the established order. Overall, the chapter provides a fascinating exploration of the history and teachings of the Rosicrucian Order, shedding light on one of the most mysterious and enigmatic spiritual traditions of the Western world. Chapter 34. Bacon, Shakespeare, and the Rosicrucians. The chapter, Bacon, Shakespeare, and the Rosicrucians, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, explores the connections between Francis Bacon, William Shakespeare, and the Rosicrucian movement. The chapter begins by discussing the role of Bacon in the creation of the Rosicrucian manifestos, which were a series of anonymous publications that appeared in the early 17th century and sparked a new wave of interest in esoteric philosophy and mysticism. The author suggests that Bacon may have been one of the authors of these manifestos and that he used them as a way to promote his own ideas about the unity of knowledge and the importance of secret societies. The chapter then turns to the topic of Shakespeare, examining the various theories about his identity and the possibility that he was a member of the Rosicrucian Order. The author presents evidence from Shakespeare's plays that suggest he was familiar with Rosicrucian ideas and may have been influenced by them in his writing. The chapter also explores the connections between Bacon, Shakespeare, and the various secret societies and esoteric movements of their time, including the Freemasons, the Knights Templar, and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The author suggests that these individuals were part of a larger network of thinkers and practitioners who shared a common interest in the hidden knowledge of the universe. Overall, the chapter offers a fascinating exploration of the interplay between literature, philosophy, and mysticism during a period of intense intellectual and cultural ferment in Europe. It suggests that Bacon, Shakespeare, and the Rosicrucians were all part of a larger movement that sought to uncover the hidden truths of the universe and to promote a new era of human understanding and enlightenment. Chapter 35. The Theory of Celestial Influence. The Theory of Celestial Influence is the 35th chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. This chapter explores the ancient belief that the stars and planets have a profound effect on human life and the natural world. Hall begins the chapter by tracing the origins of astrology and astronomy back to ancient Babylon and Egypt. He notes that these early civilizations believed that the movements of the stars and planets had a direct influence on the lives of individuals and the fate of nations. This belief persisted throughout history, with astrological predictions being consulted by kings and emperors, and astrologers being highly respected members of society. Hall then goes on to explore the different ways in which celestial influence was believed to manifest in the world. He describes how the ancient Greeks believed that each of the planets had a corresponding god or goddess, and that the qualities of these deities could be seen in the events that occurred during their planetary cycles. For example, the planet Venus was associated with the goddess of love and beauty, and her movements were believed to influence matters of the heart. Hall also examines the concept of the Great Year, a cycle of approximately 26,000 years that was believed to be governed by the movements of the stars. According to this theory, each age of the Great Year was associated with a different zodiacal sign, and the qualities of that sign were believed to influence the events of that age. This idea can be seen in the astrological concept of the Age of Aquarius, which is said to be the current age and is associated with themes of progress, innovation, and social justice. In addition to exploring the theory of celestial influence, Hall also delves into the history of astrology and the various astrological systems that have been used throughout history. He discusses the differences between Western and Eastern astrology, as well as the various techniques used in astrological charting and prediction. Overall, the theory of celestial influence provides a detailed exploration of the ancient belief that the movements of the stars and planets have a profound effect on human life and the natural world. Through examining the history of astrology and its various systems, Hall provides insight into the enduring fascination that people have had with the stars and their influence on our lives. Chapter 36. The Emerald Tablet. The Emerald Tablet is the 36th chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. This chapter explores the ancient text known as the Emerald Tablet, which is said to contain the secrets of alchemy and Hermetic philosophy. The Emerald Tablet is said to have been written by Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure who was believed to be the master of both alchemy and astrology. The tablet is said to contain the essence of Hermetic philosophy, which is based on the idea that all things in the universe are interconnected and that the key to understanding the universe is to understand the principles of correspondences. The text of the Emerald Tablet is brief, consisting of only a few lines, but it is believed to contain a wealth of knowledge that has been passed down through the ages. The text is written in a cryptic language that is open to interpretation, and it has been studied by alchemists, hermeticists, and spiritual seekers for centuries. Hall provides a detailed analysis of the text of the Emerald Tablet, exploring its symbolism and its meaning. He notes that the text contains references to the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water, and to the three principles of alchemy: sulfur, mercury, and salt. Hall also explores the idea of the as above, so below principle, which is central to Hermetic philosophy. This principle states that the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, and that the same principles that govern the universe also govern the human body and the natural world. Hall suggests that the Emerald Tablet contains a key to understanding the spiritual transformation that is at the heart of alchemy. He notes that the text speaks of the transmutation of the elements, which he interprets as a metaphor for the transformation of the human soul. Overall, the Emerald Tablet, chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages, provides a fascinating exploration of one of the most important texts in the history of alchemy and Hermetic philosophy. Hall's analysis sheds light on the symbolism and meaning of the text, making it accessible to those who seek to understand the secrets of the ancient wisdom traditions. Chapter 37. The Seven Hermetic Principles. The Seven Hermetic Principles is a chapter in Manly P. Hall's book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. In this chapter, Hall explores the 7 principles of the Hermetic philosophy, which is a system of thought that originated in ancient Egypt and was later adopted by the Greeks. The first principle is the principle of mentalism, which states that all is mind and the universe is mental. According to this principle, everything in the universe is created through the power of the mind, and the material world is a manifestation of mental energy. The second principle is the principle of correspondence, which states that there is a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. This principle suggests that there is a relationship between the physical, mental, and spiritual realms, and that the laws that govern one plane of existence also apply to the others. The third principle is the principle of vibration, which states that everything in the universe is in a state of vibration. This principle suggests that everything, including matter, energy, and thought, has a vibrational frequency and that these frequencies can be used to bring about change in the physical and mental realms. The fourth principle is the principle of polarity, which states that everything in the universe has its opposite. This principle suggests that everything has two poles or extremes, and that these poles are necessary for the manifestation of life and creation. The fifth principle is the principle of rhythm, which states that everything in the universe has a rhythm, cycle of birth, growth, decay, and death. This principle suggests that everything in the universe, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, is subject to cycles and patterns. The sixth principle is the principle of cause and effect, which states that every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause. This principle suggests that nothing happens by chance, and that every action produces a corresponding reaction. The seventh principle is the principle of gender, which states that everything in the universe has a masculine and feminine aspect. This principle suggests that these aspects are necessary for the creation of life and that the balance between the two is essential for harmony and balance in the universe. In conclusion, the principles of Hermetic philosophy provide a framework for understanding the underlying principles of the universe. These principles suggest that the universe is mental and that everything in it is interconnected and subject to natural laws and cycles. By understanding and applying these principles, individuals can gain insight into the workings of the universe and live in harmony with its rhythms and cycles. Chapter 38. The Evolution of the Mystery Language. The Evolution of the Mystery Language is the 38th chapter of The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. In this chapter, Hall discusses the evolution of language and its importance in the study of esotericism. Hall begins by discussing the origins of language and the development of hieroglyphics, noting that they were used by the ancient Egyptians to express their religious and philosophical beliefs. He then moves on to explore the role of symbols and allegory in ancient cultures, pointing out that these were often used to convey hidden meanings and to preserve esoteric knowledge. Hall explains that the use of symbols continued into the Middle Ages, where they were employed by various secret societies and mystical orders. He notes that these societies often used coded language and intricate systems of symbols to communicate with one another and to preserve their teachings. In addition, Hall delves into the role of alchemy in the development of the mystery language, noting that alchemists used complex allegories and symbolic language to express their theories about the transmutation of metals and the attainment of spiritual enlightenment. Hall concludes the chapter by emphasizing the importance of understanding the mystery language, noting that it is essential for those who wish to fully comprehend the teachings of various esoteric traditions. He argues that the study of symbols, allegories, and coded language can reveal hidden truths and unlock the mysteries of the universe. Overall, the evolution of the mystery language provides a fascinating exploration of the role of language and symbolism in the study of esotericism. It highlights the importance of understanding the mystery language and provides valuable insights into the ways in which ancient cultures and secret societies used symbols and allegories to convey hidden knowledge. Chapter 39. The Theory of Cycles. The Theory of Cycles is one of the chapters in the book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall. This chapter explores the concept of cycles, which is a fundamental idea in many esoteric traditions. The chapter begins by explaining that everything in the universe is subject to cycles, from the smallest particles to the largest cosmic bodies. These cycles can be seen in the changing of the seasons, the phases of the moon, and the rotation of the planets. According to the esoteric tradition, these cycles are not random but follow a predetermined pattern. The chapter goes on to discuss the idea that human beings are also subject to cycles. These cycles are said to be influenced by various factors, such as the movement of the planets, the position of the stars, and the phases of the moon. The cycle of human life, for example, is said to be divided into 7-year periods, with each period representing a different stage of development. The chapter also explores the idea that civilizations are subject to cycles. According to this theory, civilizations go through a cycle of birth, growth, decline, and death. This cycle is said to be influenced by various factors, such as the quality of leadership, the moral character of the people, and the level of technological advancement. When a civilization reaches the end of its cycle, it is said to be replaced by a new civilization that starts the cycle anew. The chapter then discusses the concept of the Great Year, which is a cycle that is said to last for approximately 25,000 years. According to this theory, the Great Year is divided into 12 ages, each age lasting for around 2,160 years. Each age is said to be influenced by a different astrological sign, which in turn influences the character of the age. The chapter concludes by explaining that the theory of cycles has important implications for human beings. By understanding the cycles that we are subject to, we can better navigate our lives and make the most of the opportunities that come our way. The theory of cycles also offers hope, as it suggests that even in times of darkness and decline, there is always the possibility of a new cycle of growth and renewal. Chapter 40. The Physical and Spiritual Aspects of Cosmology. The chapter, The Physical and Spiritual Aspects of Cosmology, in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall explores the concept of cosmology, or the study of the universe, from both a physical and spiritual perspective. The chapter provides a detailed overview of the history of cosmology and the various cosmological theories and models that have been proposed throughout history. The chapter begins with a discussion of the ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras, who is credited with the idea that the universe is a harmonious and mathematical structure. This idea, which became known as the harmony of the spheres, would go on to influence many later philosophers and astronomers. The chapter then explores the cosmological theories of various cultures throughout history, including the Egyptians, Babylonians, Hindus, and Chinese. The author notes that many of these cultures saw the universe as a living organism, with a divine consciousness animating all of creation. The chapter also provides an overview of modern cosmological theories, including the Big Bang theory and the expanding universe model. The author notes that while these theories have greatly expanded our understanding of the physical universe, they do not account for the spiritual or metaphysical aspects of the cosmos. The chapter then delves into the esoteric aspects of cosmology, exploring the idea that the universe is a reflection of the divine and that the physical world is a manifestation of spiritual principles. The author notes that many ancient cultures believed that the study of the universe was a path to spiritual enlightenment and that the physical world was a means of attaining knowledge of the divine. The chapter concludes with a discussion of the role of cosmology in modern spirituality and the New Age movement. The author notes that many people today are drawn to cosmology as a means of understanding their place in the universe and their connection to the divine. Overall, the physical and spiritual aspects of cosmology is a comprehensive exploration of the history and significance of cosmology from both a physical and spiritual perspective. It provides a valuable resource for those interested in the intersection of science, spirituality, and philosophy. What are the important takeaways from this book? The Secret Teachings of All Ages, by Manly P. Hall, is a comprehensive exploration of the esoteric and arcane teachings of various cultures throughout history. The book covers a vast array of topics, from ancient mysteries and secret societies to alchemy and mystic Christianity, and provides a detailed examination of the symbolism, mythology, and practices of various esoteric traditions. Some important takeaways from the book are: 1. The universality of esoteric teachings. Throughout history, esoteric teachings have been found in virtually every culture and civilization. These teachings share many similarities and point to a common source of wisdom and knowledge. 2. The importance of symbolism. Symbolism is a powerful tool for conveying hidden or esoteric meaning. Understanding the symbolism used in various esoteric traditions can provide a deeper understanding of their teachings. 3. The relationship between science and spirituality. Many esoteric teachings, including those of ancient cultures, emphasize the interconnectedness of all things and the existence of a divine consciousness that animates the universe. Modern science has also revealed the interconnectedness of all things and the underlying mathematical and geometric principles that govern the physical universe. 4. The pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. Many esoteric traditions view the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment as the ultimate goal of human existence. This pursuit involves the cultivation of virtues such as wisdom, compassion, and detachment from material desires. 5. The value of inner exploration. Esoteric teachings often emphasize the importance of inner exploration and self-discovery. Practices such as meditation, contemplation, and self-reflection can help individuals connect with their inner selves and access higher states of consciousness. Overall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages provides a comprehensive overview of the esoteric teachings of various cultures throughout history and offers valuable insights into the nature of how can this be used in our daily life. The teachings presented in The Secret Teachings of All Ages can be applied to our daily lives in a variety of ways, including 1. Developing a deeper understanding of the world around us. By exploring the esoteric teachings of various cultures, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the symbolism and meaning behind the myths, symbols, and rituals that are present in our daily lives. 2. Enhancing our spiritual growth. Many of the teachings presented in the book emphasize the importance of spiritual growth and the cultivation of virtues such as wisdom, compassion, and detachment from material desires. By applying these teachings to our daily lives, we can become more aware of our inner selves and work toward our spiritual development. 3. Improving our relationships with others. Many esoteric teachings emphasize the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of compassion and understanding toward others. By applying these teachings to our interactions with others, we can cultivate deeper relationships and greater empathy toward those around us. 4. Developing a sense of purpose and direction. By exploring the teachings of various esoteric traditions, we can gain a greater understanding of our place in the world and our purpose in life. This can provide a sense of direction and motivation as we work towards our goals and aspirations. 5. Enhancing our mental and emotional well-being. Practices such as meditation, contemplation, and self-reflection, which are often emphasized in esoteric teachings, can help us to develop greater mental and emotional resilience, reduce stress and anxiety, and promote greater overall well-being. Overall, the teachings presented in The Secret Teachings of All Ages can be used as a guide for personal growth and development, helping us to become more aware of ourselves and our place in the world and to cultivate greater understanding, compassion, and wisdom in our daily lives.